no food for 40 days, day 21. We're 3 weeks in, 3 weeks today, or tomorrow would be start of week 4. So happy Lent, everyone. I'm sorry that would have been really loud. I just realized the microphone was there and I just clapped. But welcome to these videos. Thank you for everyone that's watching them and sharing how your experience is going as well. There were a few people that were also doing some kind of fast or just tidying their body or doing something or other. And it's just been really, really cool, really inspiring to read your comments and to hear how you're looking after yourself and getting to know yourself and loving yourself better. And, you know, it's been so funny kind of watching myself go through this whole process because, whenever I put something up, and it's in the title every time I put it, no food, 40 days, 40 days of fasting. And still, there'll be people that kind of like that might have seen it and commented or reacted to a video or something like that. And then like halfway through go, wait, what, really? Like no food? Like no food at all? And I'm like, no, the body doesn't need food. The body doesn't need food. Like it requires 80% of all the energy that we use, 80% of that goes to digesting. Right? Can you imagine how much energy you're going to have if you're not digesting and breaking down food? And I know there's such a focus in the world of you've got to get your proteins from here and you've got to get your healthy fats from there and the healthy sugars from here and there and la 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 la. But your body is stored so much. We just don't use it. We don't use all the energy we're consuming. And you know, traditionally by DNA, by like our actual species, if we go back to um, our origins in the DNA, being if you want to go down the hunter gatherer route, we wouldn't eat every single day. And now it's like so propaganded to eat 3 meals a day and you've got to have this much of this and this much of this. And there are people that are dehydrated, they're drinking so much water. And, it's fascinating the whole global outlook on food and diet and nutrition. And, you know, I love fasting, although it does challenge you, right? As it challenges anyone, because food is the one of the things that we are most codependent with, right? We have the most codependency and the most emotional entanglement with food. And you know and it's so funny because like the amount of restaurants that I've been in in these 3 weeks, I feel like you know you start fasting and there's so much food around you all the time. I'm going to like coffee shops and restaurants with friends, or because there's still a social aspect, right? Of food is so ingrained within our life. And of course, I'm not eating anything when I go to these restaurants or these cafes when I'm with people. I'm just drinking something. But what's even more fascinating is, like your smell gets so refined, like your senses get so fine tuned. Your mind is so clear because it's not wasting a load of energy doing other stuff. You've got a lot of like energy from the get go, from the start of the day. You wake up and you're raring to go. You're productive, constructive. Everything kind of just improves, and especially your senses. So then, I go to whatever the restaurant is with friends, family members, and some of them are like, "Oh my God, I feel bad for eating." I'm like, "Don't. My choice to be here." And if I get swayed by you eating a meal, then beside the point really of what I'm doing. Whenever you're fasting, you are literally going head to head with a codependency. What if those hunger pangs aren't actual hunger? Because it's not really, is it? We get hungry at the same time every day. It's repetition, it's pattern. And really, if you were to not eat if you were hungry, you'd be absolutely fine. You would. You'd be absolutely fine. But there's always that fear, isn't there? There's that fear. But yeah, no, we're at the 3 week mark, so I'm celebrating a little bit because it has gone really quickly. It just feels so normal now. Um, if For those of you that have been watching these videos from the first one that I did, you'll remember that in the first week um, I was juicing a lot, right? I was trying to really support my body in releasing all the food because once again, we eat food, physical food, solid food, and then we think, oh, it'll be out of our body in the next 1 to 2 days, digestion, poop it out or whatever. That's not really what happens. It stays in there for a hell of a long time, and it starts to just kind of rot in the intestines, and it forms walls and barriers to actually absorbing nutrients. So it's fascinating because like I'm just drinking today. I was like, it's a great day just to have lemon water. I don't need to drink something that's got anything else in it. I don't need to drink juice. I don't need to have this. I'm just going to have lemon water today because that just feels really nourishing. I feel really drawn to doing that. So that's what I'm doing right now. And it's good. I'm really enjoying that I made that decision today, because when you make a decision, and if you're someone like me, if I say I'm going to do something, I do it. I like to practice that level of integrity. And, it's good for our relationship with ourselves. But then it's also good for, our friends and our family, because then we can be reliable as well. Say you're going to do something, you do it. But what's really good is that I can feel today, of all days, like with drinking the lemon water, like I can feel like, the gurgling inside, like kind of going, oh, that would be normally like a hunger pang. Like, oh, I'm hungry, I'm gonna eat something. And it's so funny because I'm going, I could just have like a cup of broth, or I could just have some broth today. That'd be fine. And in the mind's always gonna try and justify. But today I was like, no, it's good to actually limit yourself, because what you're doing is, you're not starving yourself. There's nothing about what I'm doing that is starving me. And that's controversial in its own right, because I'm not eating food. But people have this definition of starvation as like, you're going to take something away that you need, but not realizing that we actually don't need solid food. Biologically, we don't need it in that way. We've come to rely on it, but we don't actually need it how we think we do. And so it's really interesting, because so many of us, we do this thing, don't we, where we have an opinion on something. We have advice to give, but it's usually advice that we haven't lived through. So I always find it really, really interesting. But I'm really enjoying at this point. I was like, I decided, and you'll remember on the last video I said this, that I really want to kind of step it up a little bit, because now it's just easy to not eat. It's just easy to not eat. I don't feel like I want to eat something. If something goes past me on a plate and it looks delicious, I might want to smell it, but I don't want to eat it, because like it makes my body want to go, it makes my body feel dehydrated just thinking about what it might be to eat it. So, when I finish the 40 days of fasting, whatever I might choose to consume, it'll be really interesting to see, firstly, how my body responds, and secondly, what I'll choose. But yeah, it's fun. So I said, like, in the last video, I really wanted to kind of step it up a little bit. And when I said that to one of my friends, she was like, what does that mean, step it up? And I was like, I don't know, maybe, from noon onwards, I'll only have water. Or maybe some days, I'll really want to kind of introduce dry days again. Because I did that in the first week. I was like juicing, went on water, then did a dry fast, um, doing Shankar in between to help really clear the intestines. And yeah, and I haven't really done a fully dry day since. So I'm like, oh, maybe I'll have lemon water today. Maybe I'll do a dry day tomorrow. We'll see. But whatever I do make a decision to do, I'm going to do it. Right? But to step it up a little bit, I was like, okay, well, my body is really being efficient. My energy level is so high. It feels really good. I feel really productive. Um, and I know if I do need some type of nourishment, because my body might get a little bit tired. But what that then looks like is, that looks like me maybe meditating for a little bit, or that looks like me going out for a walk, or doing some qigong, or some exercise, or some movement. Because when we're tired, it's because we're getting stagnant. That's all, really. So it's a lot of fun to really observe myself and get to know myself, because it is a really intimacy building process, fasting. You become closer to yourself. You build a bigger trust between yourself, your mind, your body, all of it. You build a deeper connection with source, or your higher self, or God, or whatever you want to call that. And it shows you as well how powerful the body is. And we spend our whole lives getting told how weak our body is. Do this so that you don't get ill, or do that so you don't get ill. And when a sentence always kind of has that at the end of it, so that you don't this, so that you don't that, it kind of makes us think, without even realizing it, it's all subliminals. It makes us think that our bodies actually aren't as powerful, magical, strong as they actually are, or our minds, or whatever. So fasting for me is always, it's always an exercise in divine will, in your own practiced divine will. if you can forego food when you have a hunger pang and not binge afterwards as well, that's a big thing, right? And then you know that you are going to be able to create whatever you want in life. And last week, I did get to the point where I was like, oh my God, it's just so easy just to have a drink of whatever I want. Maybe I'll make myself a chai latte, or I'll have a tea, or I'll have a coffee, or I'll have a broth. And now I'm going, okay, well, now I actually think that that is too easy, and I'm relying on that a little bit. So just for this week, I'm just going to play with it a little bit. But one thing that I have really enjoyed as well, and it was one of my other friends who did a post on this the other day, castor oil. Anyone familiar with castor oil here? Putting castor oil patches on. A lot of people put it on the liver, right, to help draw impurities out the liver, or you can put it anywhere on your body really to help heal your body. You can put it on your hair; it's really great for your hair. You can ingest it, and anyway. So last night I was like, oh, I'm going to do castor oil this week as well. So I got some castor oil, and I got some patches, some sticky things, and the big patchy things like this, like big sticker, big plasters. You can get the ones that you just wash, but those came quicker, so I got those. World of convenience, right? Um, and yeah, so I was like, okay, well, I'm going to put a castor oil patch on my lower back because my lower back felt a little bit yesterday, and my heels did as well. So I was like, well, that's a bladder, meridian, kidneys, bladder. Okay, maybe I need to drink more liquids. Maybe I've been having a bit too much of liquid with something in it, like coffee, tea, chai, broth, whatever. So I was like, okay, well, today I'm going to do this water, but I'm going to castor oil overnight. I'm going to put it on my lower back. So I had a big patch there, and I had one on the front, so between my pubic bone and navel. And I was like, okay, well, that's going to really help whatever's in my digestive system, whatever's around the kidneys, whatever's down those meridians. I'm going to do that. And I don't know if you've ever put castor oil before. You just literally put in like a thing on you, and the oil's quite viscous. It's quite thick. And then when you take it off in the morning, no problem. It doesn't go anywhere. It's sealed. But yeah, and I woke up this morning and I was like, wow, my stomach actually feels like a lot more. Not that it was not balanced, but it just feels like it's like smaller. I don't know how else to say that because it is fascinating because even though I'm not eating, like my weight does go up and down through the day. Like maybe I'll gain a kilo, or I'll lose a kilo. It kind of goes up and down to the capacity of half a kilo to a kilo. So it's fascinating. Um, I don't really know what to share on these videos. I just kind of tell you the thoughts that I've had and what's been really interesting and stuff like that. But I know that for a lot of you, I get asked questions at the end of each one, and yeah, hopefully they're inspiring or they're helpful or they're just curious. They're fascinating, aren't they? But one of the things that I have been enjoying is so I have a couple of sets of scales in the bathroom, and these are the scales that kind of measure your composition, right? So it can measure your muscle mass and it can measure your bone density and water concentration, whatever. Water concentration, what do you call that? Water percentage, and weight, obviously. And even though, so I went from being about maybe 82 kilos, 82.5 kilos. That kind of is where I average out is around 82. And I'm on 76 right now. So that's 6 kilos. That's gone steadily. I think maybe like 3 kind of went straight away in the first week, and then like maybe 2 or 1.5, 2 last week, and like through the third week that we've just been maybe like 1 kilo. So it's kind of like evening out a little bit now. But it's fascinating because like the body does go into autophagy, right? The body does eat or demolish or whatever you want to say the cells that are malfunctioning, the cells that are reproducing themselves and propagating themselves in a way that's degenerating our age, that making us get older, right? And it's only because of what we put inside us that makes us get older. We don't naturally age like that anyway, because our cells naturally propagate. So if it's only the good cells propagating, then you're not going to age, right? So it's really interesting because the scales are saying, from day number 1, when I took all the measurements, and every time I've been on them, my muscle mass hasn't changed. Because someone said, well, won't your body start eating your muscles? I was like, no. I think hopefully my body's smarter than that. It's like third year into doing fasts and breatharian stuff and, dry fast, wet fast, water fast. Like, hopefully by now, my body has learned not to eat the muscle mass, right? Only to take from the fat reserves for energy and to just clean up some of the cells and, purify some of the waters in there. Which is why it's great for your eyes as well, great for your organs, great for your eyes, great like if you've got eye issues, if you have like floaters in the eyes, if you have astigmatism or wear glasses and you want to really work with that, then fasting's actually fantastic for eyesight. And you can do like eye stretches. But yeah, the scales are saying the same thing. Like the water content in my body, still the same. Bone density, still the same. Muscle mass, still the same. Only thing that's shifting is weight and therefore BMI. So I just thought that was really fascinating, and a little bit validating as well. And I have two sets of scales, and they both kind of, they both say the same thing, even though they're different scales. So that's always a little bit validating. It's not just pulling it out of nowhere, right? But yeah, so no, it's been really fun. It's been really interesting. I wondered how I would get to at this point, and I am looking forward to the next few weeks. I think they might get a little bit harder. I mean, I'm ready for whatever it is, but I think they might get a little bit harder in the sense that the initial layers of what I'm going to call is as a mutable fat has been eaten, right? The body's kind of gone, I'm going to use that energy source now. And now I'm getting really excited because I think my body's going to have got to that stage where it's the layers of fat that have stored the memories and emotions that are a little bit older, right? Because our memories are stored in our body, our emotions are stored in our body. That's what creates repetitious patterns in our life, things to heal, right? Fractures of the psyche and the emotions that come from it. And so the more work that you do with your nervous system and the more work that you do on healing your mind, your body will heal and let go of things that it's ready to, right? So I'm actually getting a little bit excited about that because I'm going, ooh, well, if we're 6 kilos down and if I can see physically on my body where it's kind of trimmed up a little bit, then I know that now the fat reserves that it's going for will hold maybe a little bit deeper memory or deeper emotion. And that's just really exciting to me. I'm going, ooh, maybe something will come up that I'll get to heal. Maybe something will be accessible that I haven't been able to see before or access before. So, yeah, I don't know, just these things that are exciting to me. I'm loving all the books that I just went to Glastonbury this weekend. I mean, I'm there all the time, but I went to Glastonbury this weekend, and yeah, it's fantastic because I went into some of the bookshops as well, and every now and then I'll be like, oh, I'll just get some books, and so like this one, The Healing Sun. I'm enjoying just starting that right now. I have a book on breath work, on fasting. I've not started this one yet, but I did have it before and then I lent it out to someone. I don't think I'll ever see it again. So I bought it again because I didn't actually read it before I lent it out. So, I'm really looking forward to like learning as well, continuing to learn more about my own body whilst experiencing it firsthand. It's like some of the things that we kind of think, like I was learning about the liver the other day and how the liver is used for smell. And like the things that we smell, the liver breaks down. So that's why if you're in a home full of air fresheners and chemical fragrances and you put comfort on your clothes and you have an air freshener plugged into the wall and this, and this, then your liver is actually having to break all that down. And the reason why it might smell nice to some people is because it blocks the receptors. That's what it actually does. Like fragrance blocks the receptors, which is why perfume smells nice. But then that's also why it disrupts hormones because it messes with the liver and it messes with the endocrine system and all of that. So it's just all this stuff that you get to learn because you're not fatiguing. You're not fatiguing as much. Your brain isn't fatiguing as much. I do feel like I'm rambling a little bit right now. So this is a little bit of a longer video. Normally they're about 10 minutes and we're on to 20. So I'll do another video at some point, maybe even on Saturday. Saturday is the eclipse day, right? New moon solar eclipse. partial solar eclipse, super new moon. So I'm looking forward to that. Aries always brings us to that authentic self, invites us to that authenticity. And with Mercury and Venus doing their dance in retrograde right now, it's going to be really interesting to see how that is. But I think it's going to be quite a nice, subtle eclipse in comparison to the Virgo one that we just had and the Libra one that we'll have next month. But anyway, I'm going to get going. I'm sending you all so much love. And I'll see some of you tonight on the past life regression and karma clearing workshop. Just go to aliceheath.com if you want to jump on that. Okay. The replay will be out tomorrow as well.